welcome to the channel. If you haven't joined us before, thanks for joining us this time. If you're back, thanks for joining us again. Make sure you subscribe below, hit the notification bell, all that good stuff. We do tons of car reviews. We do a lot of race event stuff. Today we are at Porsche of Tampa with the Rees family. They are loaning us the Taycan 4S.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting.
So we've already driven the Taycan Turbo S. So this is the essentially Tesla spec.
The rival.
Price-wise, right? So base on this is 103. So we're going to test this. We're going to spend a day with it. And thanks for joining us. Let's hit that intro and then let's get started.
Let's do it.
So we're off. I do hear the whir a little bit still, which is cool. That's what you want to hear. All right, so what's entry point? We discussed it already.
103,000 is what this is based at.
Did you turn my seat heater on, bro?
No.
Okay. So 103,000
is what the base is. Yep.
Okay.
So this is where the 4S comes at. What we're driving currently is 128.
Okay, and what do you get for 128? Why is that spec'd at the way it is? Do we get a bigger battery?
We got the larger battery, which is the 934 kilowatt battery. We have dual displays, like the full dash display.
Oh, that's right. That's a cool feature which we will show you later in the video. Passenger side has full display as well.
What else is there on here?
All right.
And we have the full premium package.
Take off. Ooh, she's still fast.
It's got some shove.
I was reaching for paddles.
Yep, it's happened to the best of us.
Which there isn't any. It's still got tons of shove, guys.
It does. It's like Panamera power without the sound.
Yeah, still same fit and finish. So is it, right off the bat, we haven't been in it obviously very, very long, but we've been assuming without even driving the 4S and speaking to Porsche executives that this was the sweet spot. This is their target goal to sell this particular model, the 4S, in mass quantities, correct?
Yeah.
So
and it makes sense. It feels like it.
Yeah, and it coming in at base 103. And just be mindful, guys, when you say 103, which is still a lot, we're not saying that's not, but that is the rivalry, even though they're not rivals according to Porsche, as far as the Tesla goes. And base stuff on a Porsche is not like base stuff on other manufacturers. It's not like the base stuff is bad. Like all of the base stuff that you're going to get in this vehicle is still going to be top notch. It's not like you're going to get a fabric option or any of that kind of stuff. You're still going to get leather.
There's still a Porsche standard associated with the standard.
So just be mindful of that too when you hear that. You're like, oh, well, it's not like you're going to get crank up windows. And,
that'd be awesome.
AC minus delete, all that kind of stuff.
We're really going eco with these days.
Really trying to conserve the battery.
Exactly. I gotta get some range.
That would be funny though, because then you wouldn't have power windows, so it wouldn't draw. I mean, it's a small draw anyway, so interesting enough. I should probably have turned that on. That's my bad. But yeah, it's super quiet as you would imagine. It has that effect like we've talked about with other electric cars.
Yeah.
Even or hybrids that we've driven in E-mode. It's just a very tranquil place to be.
And I would say this is the more like daily. Like this feels like this feels like a daily, I guess. Out of the two, the Turbo S kind of feels like you've arrived. Like
and I still like the whir noises that come from it.
Yeah.
Which is still pretty badass, right? So I'm really enjoying that. And then this isn't a really good spec too, exterior wise. Obviously, to each their own. To however you want to spec your car, but it's Dolomite, which
Dolomite silver.
looks just like Polar Silver, essentially.
That definitely does look. Oh, okay, still has. Still has movement.
Yeah, and that was half throttle.
Yeah.
So, and as you imagine, everything's still from Porsche, steering super tight. I know that, not everybody is fortunate enough to have driven one of these yet and got their hands on it. So we're very, very thankful to the Reeves family and Porsche of Tampa for essentially infinite sponsorship of us and letting us drive like brand new stuff.
Pretty awesome.
And they treat us like family. We love them. They're part of our family. So just remember, if you guys are ever looking for a car, that's where you guys want to buy a car from. They ship cars all over the world. Like we were just in there talking to Chris Rogers today, and they had a GT3 at 18 manual, had 2,000 miles on it. Zero over revs. Yes. No kidding. It sucks for the person who owned it before that, but the story behind it was an elderly gentleman, so he just kind of wanted it. He putted around town with it. But great for the second buyer. And that's the kind of stuff they have, even secondhand or new cars. They have blue chip stuff like that. You better believe that car was gone immediately when it came in. I think it was in India red, I think was the color.
Like it was.
But anyways, the point of that is I've never seen any GT3 ever, even in level 1, zero revs, over revs, ever. Which I thought was really, really neat little tidbit that he shared with us. I was hoping that car was still going to be there because we probably would have put an over rev on it, not like deliberately, but just because that's how we drive. So we would have been the first ones to put over rev. So maybe it's good that it did sell already. So we weren't the ones that put the first over rev. It would have been funny because they would have checked the data on it and be like, wait a minute, this happened yesterday. Who drove the car yesterday? Be like, the P car talk guys drove it. Be like, okay. So maybe kind of saved us from not getting egg on our face, right? For that. But back to the Taycan 4S. I really feel, as other than the name and some of the performance behind it, clearly, with the 700 plus horsepower feeling and the other car, you're really not missing a ton. If you have the funds, I'm not discouraging you from buying that. I'm just saying that's a huge price gap between this car and the other car.
It's a completely other 4S.
Yeah, and this is essentially 85% of that car.
Yeah, I would say that. I like the fit and finish in here is just as nice.
Well, that's the thing. It's not going to change between the Turbo S and the 4S. Is the fit and finish is going to be identical still. It's not like you get less fit and finish because it's a 4S. That's still going to be just as tight. The only difference really is the performance and the way it delivers it, and then some body aesthetics, like with the carbon and all that kind of stuff. Don't get me wrong, it's a sexy car, but if you're in the, you can afford this, and you want the nice stuff, and you want to save some 80 grand essentially, this is where you end up, I think. And it still feels fantastic. We're driving it in the harshest mode right now. We're in Sport Plus suspension.
It feels fine.
And it feels great. And I'm sure you guys have seen other reviews, or if you haven't, maybe some of the bigger guys have done stuff on these cars. And we've talked about it in our Turbo S video. These handle just like 911s too. They've got the weight of the car down, very, very low center of gravity in the vehicle. With the four-wheel action it's happening, it's all separate motors. The car is very, very performance oriented, and let's be honest guys, this is the best full EV looking on the market, hands down.
Yep.
And I know we're Porsche fanboys, and even if we weren't Porsche fanboys, this is the best EV on the market looks wise.
Yeah, it was it was a little questionable at first, like when they were first showing what it might look like with the all stickered up and stuff.
You're right.
But now it's no contest.
Exactly. And it's such a special car, and we've talked about this before as well. You are going to be ahead of the technology curve with this, because this is far in advance, where other manufacturers, I would call them, I guess, just run-of-the-mill average manufacturers, not luxury brand essentially, will aspire to be building this in a few years, and this is already out.
Yeah, not even just luxury brand, but performance brand.
Yeah.
That's where it's at.
So it's a unique creature all the way around. It's a really, really nice place to be. And I don't feel, which is a good thing or a bad thing depending on how you want to look at it. It is very quiet in the cabin, and it's very easy to drive, and it's very functional to drive, but it's when you hit the throttle, it's very performance oriented still. Even just a little blip, not even like quarter turn just to like move the car a hair, the car jolts. And that's because we're in sport, but it's just one of those things where I don't feel like I'm in an EV. Even though it's quiet. I know I'm in one, but I don't feel like, oh, I'm driving a cartoon.
Yeah, it's not numb to yourself. You're expecting to feel nothing because
exactly.
That's not.
Yeah, you're expecting, 2050 future pod something, and that this is not that. It still makes the whirs. The feedback from the steering wheel is fantastic. I mean, just a quarter turn, the car's point and shoot immediately. I don't think I'm missing anything not having a gear shifter or a paddle thing.
Yeah, ghost paddles.
Yeah, ghost paddles. Just something you can click on to like almost where they give kids something to play with. Yeah. But I think it's interesting nevertheless. I do like that on the decel, the whirring.
Yeah, spaceship.
It's definitely a special car. I want one of these badly. I can't afford one, but I want one. And again, the whole open air effect with the roof and the glass panel roof that we talked about in the Turbo S. It's just a wonderful place to be, right?
Super clean.
I did notice a little bit of difference where they kind of have taken, this is not Alcantara like it is in the Turbo S, the roof skin, which is not necessarily a bad thing, because Alcantara, I mean, is, as we all know, if you don't know, it's just a cheap material that manufacturers decided to make fancy because it's actually really, really cheap to produce.
Like the weird thing, the colors remind me of like a museum. Like I don't know if you get that vibe. Like that's.
In what way? Just like
the
you're
colors,
at a museum?
Yeah, like that. The colors and the architecture, like the angles and everything.
Yeah, I guess so, because of the two-tone.
Yeah.
That's set up. Again, air-conditioned seats are a must.
Always.
Spoiled because we drive classic cars. How do you feel about the screen? I know they can't see it yet, but we'll scroll to that now while we're talking over this. We'll voice over it. How do you feel about it being in the passenger seat? How do you feel about that?
I like that it's like proper use of the rest of the dash. I mean, otherwise you're just staring at a piece of trim.
Yeah, like if it's not optioned, it's blank.
Yeah.
Okay, so for all park deliveries, please call. So the park is still closed? Remains closed. Okay, so I guess we're going to Tampa.
Right off we go.
I know a park in Tampa by my house we can drive, though. That is open.
Yeah, that's fine.
It's not as nice, but it has canopy.
Okay.
We might not get too many launches out of this thing because we're at 134 already.
Planned, I think so. We'll step on the brakes, right? Regenerative.
Yeah. Feels like an airplane jet, though, like what we're like.
It does. It sounds like an airplane jet. There you go. Red light.
Oh, I guess we could do it, couldn't we? At least to get while we're both in the car.
I wouldn't do it with the two sheriffs right there, but they're ahead of you. They don't know. I can't hear it.
They're going to be gone by the time we go. All right, so launch control. Let's see.
I was going to do it.
Launch control activated. Oh, okay, it still hits.
Yeah.
Oh, boy. So just in case you were wondering, 562 still punches hard.
It still hits pretty hard. Yeah.
Pretty violent still.
Yeah, it's not as violent, but it's
Yeah.
There's still enough there.
Oh yeah, the G-forces is significant. However, it still hits hard. Very hard. I almost, dare I say, that actually feels better than the harder punch of the other one, because you don't feel nauseous afterwards like you do in the other one. Like, I actually feel somewhat functional still. Like the other one, where it was literally making me near blackout, if you guys haven't seen that video yet. And that's not even for theatrics. It felt concussed.
Yeah, I'm sure it was pretty hard hit. Yeah, that felt manageable. Like I said, when I say it felt like, it feels like one of the Panamera V8s. That's exactly.
Yeah.
I feel like that power is there, just no noise. Even that launch was pretty hard.
Yeah. I don't know how people were launching the Turbo S, and it might have been for theatrics. They probably weren't going back to back to back to back like that, because I really don't know how you could have done that just as a human with your anatomy over time, because unless you're just used to roller coaster launches. And I like to think that I'm in really good shape for what I do and all those kind of things, and it still was making me feel not well after the continuous pounding that car can deliver on the G-force out of the hull. So I think this being a little less subtle, and don't get me wrong, I'm not saying this is the kid glove version. It still hits hard, but I think this is the more livable version, I should say.
You definitely know you were at a stop and then you went somewhere.
Oh yeah. This is still going to embarrass a lot of petrol engine cars, even the 4S. And again, they have the whole idea behind uploading the digital thing, very similar to a rivalry brand, where you can bring in apps and you can bring in all this stuff, wirelessly over, comms and all that stuff, where you don't actually have to go into somewhere to do that stuff, right?
Yep, all the updates.
So what is the battery upgrade price point on this?
Good question.
Because I'm sure people want to know that, because that's an
$6,500.
So it's not as bad as you would, because without even hearing that number, I would think that would be over $10,000 option to have a bigger battery.
Yeah, it's a lot bigger. It's 40. It goes from 43, I think, or somewhere around there, 47 to 93. So it's a double.
So is that a bulk of the actual additional spec up? What else do we have on there that was spec up?
That is the bulk. That is actually the most expensive thing outside of the premium package, which is the panoramic sunroof, the Bose surround sound, lane assist, ventilated front seats,
which is a must. So the base model, essentially, after reading all of that, so reverse engineering that without even having to speak to anybody, comes without the panel roof, without the ventilated seats. That is worth its weight in gold. I would say that is a spec that you should definitely be doing.
Also the LED headlights and the surround view, which is the full dash effect.
I do like the full dash effect. You might not need to spend the money to get it, because it's a kind of a gee-whiz thing, but it is kind of nice to have dual screens up, because right now we have a nav screen up and then you have interior cabin screen up too.
Yeah, your navigator could literally be a navigator.
Yeah.
From the passenger side without having to use their phone.
Navigator, where are we going? But yeah. Aaron's driving.
Let's get this thing open. Keep going. She's probably like, it's not making any noise. Everywhere.
What the hell going on with that thing?
Magic? Alright, gotta turn around somewhere.
just make a left at this intersection, and then we can just do.
Okay, then go back up.
Like that main road and make another left. Just do a big circle. Oh, you think you special? You in a Porsche? Actually, they wouldn't even say it. You in a Porsche? Even my country voice said it Porsche properly.
That's how well trained you are.
Exactly. That's how inundated I am with it.
I also went to grab for a paddle. This is interesting.
Yeah. Like when we first got on the interstate, I went to but no paddle.
No, it still feels so good.
Yep. I really think this is the around town spec. If there is like another, maybe left here. There's not really, I wouldn't say there's because the turbo's a special, I mean, it's a daily as well, don't get me wrong. But I feel like this is more manageable daily. I feel like
100%.
The Taycan Turbo S can be a little twitchy just because it has so much power.
Well, I think it's only twitchy because we make it twitchy.
Yeah, we drive it in the kick-ass mode at all times.
Well, exactly. It needs to be. We feel like it needs to be wrung out all the time, and
that's a good point.
And this is where we know. Okay, well, 4S, it's back a couple notches. It feels. It just. Yeah. When I say daily, it feels like it's easy to use. You're not thinking about it. Besides making sure it's on.
Yeah.
Which is new. Besides that, it's not a difference. It's just you're in it, you're driving it. It feels like a Porsche should.
I don't even know. Like Aaron and I talked a little bit offline about this, which is actually a really good theory to talk about. If there's going to be any lesser models than a 4S, I think there's a Taycan 4, maybe non-S, coming out. And I remember reading that there was going to be a two-wheel drive version only as well. So just stay in this lane if you can.
Yeah.
So I think there is going to be lesser models. So think about like getting this for less than $100,000. Like you're still, you'll have less battery, long-term usage or whatever. But I mean, if you are purposely dailying this and you're city driving, this thing is plenty, like range.
Oh yeah, it's plenty of range. It's definitely the power. I mean, that shove is just something you can't get rid of. The feeling's good.
Yeah, it's fantastic. It feels great. And, I love the way this is spec'd with the dual screens and the pano roof and all that kind of stuff. But Aaron made a good point. He's like, I wonder if I would even, so you're going to go right, if I'd even spec all that stuff. And actually, I kind of agree with him because as much as this, as cool as this is, that effect, if you could save some dollars and not do that, and if you could really buy one of these at 103, I mean, what's that like? I'd love to test one of those because that would be interesting.
It would be. I mean, how base can you get your Taycan?
Yeah, would you feel really weird about it? One thing I would say is like I really don't like the wheels that are on this particular spec.
I can agree with that.
So I'd probably save the spec for the roof and get in this lane. I would pay for wheels. I know that sounds really I don't know, appearance-wise looking. I mean, they're 19s, but I just don't like the way these look.
They don't look good.
So that's one recommendation I would have is if you're going to buy one of these, maybe save all the dollars for all that other stuff. It's cool to have a G-Wiz thing of the additional screen over here. It's G-Wiz to have this up here. That's really, really nice. Pass on all that, get the cooler wheels, and get the 4S and try to get out of there at maybe like 110 because it'll probably charge you $7,000 for wheels or something, I'm sure.
Sport design, that's how it works.
Yeah. But I believe that is worth $7,000 in my book.
Yeah.
Granted, you could buy wheels probably cheaper aftermarket, but why not just get the Porsche wheels and be done with it? Take delivery of it the way it is.
That's true.
Let's go this way. But all in all, I freaking love this thing. I think it's awesome.
It is.
I'll tell you what, if before we even got into the Turbo S, I was more this is wicked fast.
Sorry.
I know.
I get limited time here.
I know, you're getting jumpy. I get it. I understand totally. I'm not complaining. I'm just saying, I'm complaining that the car's so powerful.
I just had lunch.
not your driving. Oh, you're awake now? Is that what that is?
Yeah, that's me.
Yeah. You got something in your fuel cell?
Maybe I do need a breakfast. Maybe that's...
Yeah. We have determined that you at least need to go for like a jog or something before podcast.
Something to get blood pumping.
See, we just got a thumbs up. He knew what it was.
Yeah. He probably saw it shoot off a second ago.
He's like, oh, hell. What in the world? Get in this lane. Yeah. He's like, oh, man. Porsche. Woo. Someday, baby. Someday. No, but we love this car. It really is. We're thankful that this thing even exists, to be honest with you. And where I was going to say earlier, before you shot off like a rocket, was I really had mixed feelings on something that I had never experienced yet. And I'm total disclaimer, like I think podcasts, maybe, I don't remember the number, but it was like 7 or 8 months ago. I was saying, well, why?
Yeah, exactly.
I get it now. I didn't then. So, full disclaimer, make sure you test something out before you give full judgment, because I was kind of judging it kind of hard. You want to be in this lane.
Okay.
And I was saying it's really, really expensive for an EV. Is it really going to be something that people are going to desire and want and things like that? Somebody to rear end us, not you crashing out. Somebody you got to drive defensively that way too, because
that's all.
You want this thing.
That lane was full.
But I get it. Like if I was in a category where I could afford a $103,000 car, this would be, and for full usage. Now, you know, you still need to have your petrol engine car, I feel like, an air-cooled or something to that effect, or something that you can ring around or do whatever you want to call it, in addition to this. However, I really do feel that these have a place in the market now.
I mean, 100%. I think other companies proved that their electric cars could work, but I think that Porsche perfected it.
Yeah. It really is a great blend of performance and luxury in this car.
Yeah, like they said, they don't have to do luxury. They just do, because they do performance first.
And like today, while we were filming and driving around, full disclaimer, I think 10 people, passerbys, while either we were filming, when we grabbed a bite to eat, that guy who just honked at us when he went by. People are seeing this thing, and it is not just a blah thing. It just blends in. It's catching people's eye, and all of these people were not Porsche people. You know, not saying that they don't like Porsches, but they were not driving Porsches. But they were saying, hey, nice car. That's really cool. I know what that is. That's awesome. Da, 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 da. So if you do care about that kind of stuff, it's still making a statement. If you still want something unique, this is definitely that, right?
For sure.
How you enjoying the seat time over there so far?
It's good. I just, I got shoved my way into traffic.
Yeah.
Doing all those Porsche things.
Yeah. So. Doing the stuff you would do with this,
exactly.
right? Daily stuff, like having to cut other people off.
Exactly. Show them what's up. Taycan life.
Exactly.
Get where I'm going.
Well, we want to thank you guys for joining us on this episode. Please don't forget to subscribe. It helps us out a ton. Make sure that you check out Porsche of Tampa, excuse me. They're the ones who supplied this car. We're eternally grateful for every car they supply to us. Make sure if you're going to purchase a car, you can purchase a car from them. Reach out to them, tell them we sent you. And we'll see you guys on the next one.
See you guys.